The big news right now is that Hillary Clinton is in big trouble. We're finding document after document that proves that not only was she a part of the Russia hoax, that she was the primary instigator. She signed off. It links Obama. So much coming out thanks to the FBI and Tulsi Gabbard. To help me go through this and other big stories, I have Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining me again.
Well, thanks for having me back.
So lots going on. Let me give my audience some background. So Officer Brandon Tatum is a former police officer turned YouTube creator with 3.5 million subscribers. On his channel, he covers politics, cultural issues, race, police, good and bad, and I'll make sure to put a link down below. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Dan Bongino last week puts out this text that he's seen things that have him shooken, that he will never be the same. A few days later, FBI Director Kash Patel says, we've recovered burn bags with evidence that will change the country. Now, in the last 24 hours, we're finding files that were scheduled to be burned, directly linking Hillary Clinton as the creator and main conspirator of the Russia Gate hoax against Trump. What are your thoughts on these big revelations coming out in the last week?
Well, Stephen, I wish that they were as juicy and as good as I want them to be. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of faith in us actually getting justice. And the reason that I say this is because we knew that they did this a long time ago. I mean, we've had evidence. We've had circumstantial evidence. You name it. We've had it to put all of these people away. And I don't really feel as confident or as optimistic about these things until people start getting indicted and going to jail. So people start having to testify under oath about the things that they have done. Because Hillary Clinton, we see this now, but the Russia, the Steele dossier type of situation that she was involved in, or the conspiracy of her being involved in that, it's nothing compared to the server she had in her house. I tell people all the time, at my funeral, I want somebody to say Hillary should be in prison at my funeral. I literally, when they give the eulogy, tell the world that Hillary should be in prison because she did far worse than the Steele dossier, far worse. And she's never been prosecuted for that. So I'm glad to see that they're presenting revelation or revelatory information that makes a lot of people feel good because it vindicates us. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter unless people go to jail. And the question that I have you and the audience and everybody probably is wondering, will Hillary Clinton go to jail for this? Will Barack Obama go to jail for this? And if the answer is no, they won't, then this is just smoke and mirrors. I mean, I personally don't even care what they find if nobody's going to be held accountable.
Okay. Now, in the past, do you blame that on Republicans that just didn't have the courage to issue the subpoenas, bring people in, use the evidence that they did have? Where do you think the blame lies with us not getting the justice that we want?
Yeah, I blame it on Republicans. Now, and of course, the Democrats, when they were in office, they did absolutely nothing, clearly, because they were implicated. But, you know, we were in power when we discovered that Hillary Clinton had done all these things. Director Comey was the director of the FBI under President Trump. Now, of course, he was fired. But then who's the FBI director we bring in? We bring in an FBI director that Trump had to fire in his second term. So our choosing of the appropriate people to put in place was not done properly. Now, I give Trump a little bit of grace because this is his first time being in public office. So I don't think he made all the right decisions, and he's made better decisions now when it comes to personnel. But at the end of the day, we were in power. At the end of the day, Director Comey decided to do what he did. And then we brought in another attorney general. Sessions recused himself. We bring in another attorney general that did nothing. You know, and so these are our people dropping the ball and doing nothing. These were our people during Epstein. Let's keep it real. Epstein was arrested under Trump. Epstein was investigated under Trump. Epstein died under Trump. So we have to take some responsibility to say, when we were in office, we didn't necessarily handle the ball well. We had it in our possession. Hopefully now I'm a little more optimistic with Kash Patel and some of these outsiders that have come into the government that seems to be willing to go beyond, you know, the deep state ceiling. So I'm a little bit more optimistic, but still, I mean, Republicans can't just blame it all on Democrats. They hadn't been in power the whole time when all of this stuff had come out.
Okay. And of course, Democrats, they're not going to turn on their own until they have to, right? But you mentioned, attorney general after attorney general that Trump was burning through. Many now wonder, is Pam Bondi the right woman for the job? Because they say she's spending more time on Fox News than on cases. I'm not seeing a lot get done from her. She obviously bungled this whole Epstein thing. Hopefully they will redeem themselves. But I'm reading and hearing from people close to Trump that this go around, he doesn't want a bunch of firings. He doesn't want a bunch of people going on MSNBC and CNN bad mouthing him. So we're probably going to keep Attorney General Pam Bondi. But do you see her as the right person to bring down Obama and Hillary Clinton and Clapper and Brennan and Comey and the rest?
Well, I can tell you there's two perspectives here. There's one from the outside looking in, and then there's one from being an insider. I have no perspective from the insider, right? I don't know what's really going on, right? Is Pam Bondi the problem, or is Pam Bondi being instructed by Donald Trump to do certain things to make her look silly? I don't really know. But from the outside looking in, she don't seem like the right person for the job. She seems like she's in over her head. And with the Epstein blunder, it's like, I don't know. My 14-year-old should be able to put together a better presentation of the Epstein findings than what she did. The binder situation was a catastrophe. She got out on the news. I mean, completely in a different vein than what Donald Trump is feeling, because she gets out on the news and say, we're going to release the files. The Epstein list, they asked her, is the Epstein list, have you looked through it? She goes, it's on my desk right now. So she's alluding to there being a list. She's alluding to the fact that her priority is to put it out and be transparent. And she did none of those things. And Donald Trump is saying, I don't even know why we're talking about this. So you think you would have the attorney general have at least a conversation with the president of the United States on messaging for the administration. Now, she don't have to tell him about the investigation thoroughly because there's separation of power, but she should at least consult him to see what his priorities are, at least consult the press secretary and say, how do we get our messaging on the same page so that we don't embarrass ourselves to the American people? She has Dan Bongino allegedly, and I don't know how true it is, but it seems to be sort of a true statement given some of the things that Dan Bongino has said lately. But Dan Bongino, it almost appeared that he was about to quit. I mean, because he didn't like the way things were handled. So when you put that together, you say it starts from the top. It starts from Trump, it goes to Pam Bondi, and then it matriculates down from there. So I don't know if she's the right person for the job. It doesn't look like she's the right person for the job from the outside looking in.
Okay. You and I have a unique perspective that most of America, 99.9% of America doesn't have on Dan Bongino, because you and I run successful multi-million person shows, right? And we know the research that goes into it. We stake our reputation. So when he says he wants to get Epstein, be transparent, whatever is there, he just wants to tell the truth. And then somebody else embarrasses him, puts out too early, doesn't do it right. I think it was a major hit to his reputation because he's been the guy talking about this. I don't think most people understand why he would want to quit. Like he's literally built a career on getting justice for this. And then outside of his control, somebody else, goes really soft or handles this wrong. I don't know. I had a lot of compassion for him. I still believe that he genuinely wants to do the best for America, bring the truth to light. What are your thoughts on that as a podcaster?
Well, when I look at it, I look at what's possible and what's probable. It's possible that he would leave a multi-million-dollar infrastructure that he built over the years, a lot on his reputation and his consistency. It's possible that he could leave that and go into the government and be a shield and go into the government and lie to the people. It's possible, but it's not probable. It doesn't seem to be a probability, a real probability that somebody would leave such a prominent platform. Dan Bongino is one of the biggest in the game. And I know how this money works. Dan Bongino is making millions of dollars talking to the people, informing the people for several years at this point. Books, I mean, you name it, it's a lot there for him that he had to give up to join the FBI, not even as the director, but a deputy director. That means he's subordinate to Kash Patel. So for him to take all of that, give it up, because nobody's running his platforms right now, to give it up, to go into government, and then to think that he's going to get in there and then not be honest. Like I wrote an op-ed about this on my Substack about how I understand the reputational hit, right? I understand that feeling. Now, I haven't taken a reputational hit, but I can imagine if you go and do something in good faith and people make you look bad, and then everybody turns on you. I mean, Dan Bongino couldn't post something online, or somebody couldn't post a picture with Dan Bongino without 90% of the comments saying that everything he's done in his life is all for nothing. Everything he stood for, all of the facts that he put out there, all of the hard nights where he had to study and put breaking news out, risking his reputation, that he's just a nobody. And he turned and we hate you and we don't support you anymore. You're nothing. He lose followers. I can understand how that can be a hit for a person, which will make you say, dude, I mean, I can't continue like this. I'm not going to sit here and sacrifice wealth and generational wealth for my family to come here and do this. I came here to serve the country. And Dan Bongino has served the country in multiple different capacities. So somebody like him versus Pam Bondi or Kash Patel, whom I don't know very well, I think that he probably has more of a vested interest to do the right thing. And it's highly unlikely that he's not telling the truth right now when he say that he wants to be transparent, and things that he's seen is troubling.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Okay, earlier this week, President Trump said on Pod Force One, a podcast, that he regretted not arresting Hillary Clinton. He said she had done many illegal and bad things, but he felt it was the wrong move, being the wife of a former U.S. president. He said, this time, after all they've done to me, I feel different. That comment, coupled with this new damning information out, is what makes me optimistic that we might see something. But what are your thoughts? Was that the wrong move? And this time around, is he going to be pressuring them to go after Hillary?
Well, I think that if you look at it in hindsight, it was the wrong move for him. But at the time, I can understand why he made the decisions that he made. It was unprecedented to put the wife of a former president in prison. Nobody had put politicians in prison before. And so Donald Trump would have been the first one. This was his first term. And so therefore, he could almost guarantee he'll never get elected again. And of course, they'll paint him with a broad brush. And maybe he say, let bygones be bygones. Look, I'm not going to put your wife in jail. I'm not going to go after you guys. Let me run the country. But they did not do that. After he decided he wasn't going to put her in prison, which he could have, they went after him. Years of Russia collusion, and they lied about it, and they cheated, and they stole, and they tried to put him in jail just recently. They tried to kill him just recently. And so with all that being said, I can see how a man say, look, I tried to be nice. I tried to be diplomatic with you guys. I tried to care about reputational damage from the Oval Office. But now I realize that you guys are evil, and you were willing to put me in prison. Hillary Clinton didn't stand up for Donald Trump when they were trying to put him in prison for some bogus charges. So why would he do that? Why would he return a favor for her and try to be nice to her? So I do think that if Donald Trump, now let me say this, I can see why Donald Trump will put her in prison now, but I also don't know how all of this stuff really works from the inside, right? I mean, it sounds like, yeah, I could put her in prison, but Donald Trump is not putting anybody in prison. It would have to be charges filed from the Attorney General or the FBI who did the investigation, and you know, it goes through a process that Donald Trump is not necessarily involved in. He cannot be involved in. So he may want this prosecution to happen. He may want Hillary to go to prison, but others may not get to that point. There may not be justification at this point. There may not be enough evidence at this point. You know, there could be a lot of different factors that will make that not become a reality, although Trump may want it to happen. So I'm open-minded to all of the possibilities. I don't want to see Hillary Clinton go to prison, like as a person, and I don't want to see Obama go to prison. I don't want to see any person in political position go to prison. But when you do what they did, you gotta reap what you sow. Yeah. You're doing stuff that hurt the country in such ways that we never can repair from, and many won't even disclose how bad it was. Hillary Clinton had a server in her house. What dirty deals and things she was doing to sell our country out on that private server that she deleted 30,000 emails, probably containing evidence. That's not okay. You and I do that, we'd be in prison for the rest of our life, and nobody would care about our wives or anything like that. So I feel like, in all fairness, we got to abide by the law. Like one of my friends, or a person that I know well, and the first person I met when I moved to Scottsdale, she got deported. Now, I feel bad for her. She was a really good person, but the law is the law. And maybe you can have a good defense attorney to help you, but the law is the law. I'm not going to get on the internet and say she should have never got deported. She had a deportation order since 2005 that I didn't know about when I met her. So it's the same thing about, you know, the things that we're talking about now. Too bad. Even if Trump did something wrong against the United States of America, he has to go to jail. And I love Trump. But, you know, I feel like that we have to have a standardized practice of saying we got to abide by the law and what's in the best interest of the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in your experience of being in law enforcement, you probably saw criminals that got back out and went and did more criminal stuff. I mean, maybe not where you live, but like I read about it every day in New York. I read about it in Chicago. I read about it in San Francisco, these repeat offenders. So I feel like at some point, maybe it's not Trump, but somebody's got to be held accountable. And like one of my favorite things right now is Letitia James keeps saying that Donald Trump is waging political lawfare against her. And he is so far removed from this. It's this Jewish Democrat in New York that doesn't even like Trump. He's been on my show a couple of times, but he just can't stand the fact that she broke the law and got away with it. That's the guy going after Letitia James. So I feel like you're right, where like Trump may want this to happen and it may not happen. But either way, he's got to, as president, he's got to have an arm's length distance. But the Department of Justice, I think that there should at least be, if nothing else, an investigation. And I think what they're going to find, if there's an investigation, grand jury, is they're going to find evidence that, yes, there is a reason to lock her and others up.
Yeah, I think they have to do it. Like you said, you know, if in law enforcement, most of the people who are committing the crimes are just a small population of people, and many of them are reoffenders. It's not a new population of people who are committing crimes. You go anywhere in the country, they'll tell you 20% of the population committing 100% of the crimes. It's not everybody. And so you can hone in on these individuals. And then the repeat offenders are just a few people of that 20% that are repeat offenders that commit most of the crimes continually. You know, like when I worked in Tucson, we had one family that committed probably about 20% of the crimes in our division. One family, the son, the daughters, and all of them are just committing crimes. Prison. I arrested all of them. I mean, one of them, we ended up arresting the brother. We ended up arresting the daughter for biting the brother and admitting that she had AIDS. So she bit him with the intent to transfer AIDS to him. This is brother and sister. We had to arrest her for that. And then later, I arrested him. He was on probation doing 25. He was going to get 25 years in prison if he violated probation. We caught him in a stolen car. And when he ran, he threw a handful of drugs this big behind his back like he was Kobe Bryant. And I found the drugs and he went to prison for 25 years. And that's just two people in the same family. And that's just the crimes that we've prosecuted them for. They committed thousands of crimes over the life, of them being alive. So when it comes to our government and corruption, I don't think it's everybody in the government. It's probably 5 people that are heavily corrupt and their tentacles are creating corruption in everything they touch. And I don't think, and I'll say this, and people may not like me saying this, I don't know if Obama was the orchestrator of corruption. He was a part of the corruption. I think the corruption was orchestrated by Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and if there's corruption on the right side, it was Bush and some of these other corrupt Republicans. And I'm not saying Bush in totality is corrupt. I think that 9/11 and all that stuff was really weird, what he did. And the fact that Donald Trump can get into office and do all of these things that he's been able to do in such a short period of time makes me feel like almost every other president was corrupt. Because they're doing, you're like, how is he doing so much stuff in like the first 100 days? And you guys had 2 terms and didn't do half of the stuff he's doing. It makes me feel like they didn't want to do anything. They lied to us about what they could and could not do. And they were deceiving the people. So I don't want to put Bush under the boat because I don't think that he's in the same on the same level as the Clintons. But I do think there was the people, puppet masters at the top, pulling strings for Obama. He was hand selected, and they pull the strings for all these other Republicans. Joe Biden, his son. I mean, it's all there, man. It's probably 5 people in our government that is responsible for most of the crimes that were committed.
Yeah. Let me run a tape. This is attorney Mike Davis. from the A3 group. He consults with President Trump regularly. He said this time around, it's going to be different. Let's go ahead and react to this together.
There's no chance. We're not going to turn the other cheek this time, and we shouldn't. President Trump, his top aides, and his allies experienced unprecedented republic-ending lawfare by Joe Biden, his Justice Department, and their allies. It took our country to the brink, and they almost succeeded in putting a former president in prison for the rest of his life, bankrupting him, throwing him off the ballot, taking off his head. That's what you do in third world Marxist hellholes, and we're not going to let America become a third world Marxist hellhole. Yes, there must be accountability for what happened.
All right, so this time we're not going to turn the cheek because if we do, we're going to become a third world hellhole. What are your thoughts? I know this guy is kind of known for being bold, but President Trump does listen to him.
Well, I'm hoping that he's right, man. What he's saying sound good. You know, man, come on, man. I want to go to sleep to listen to that, going to sleep every night. I mean, he's 100% right. That's the spirit of America. And there's going to be backlash, right? When you start seeing prominent Democrats go to prison under a Republican president, they're going to have all kind of lies and conspiracies, and I think people are going to believe them. But the truth is, justice has to be served no matter what. You can't just push it down or kick the bucket down the road because it may be harmful to your reputation when you're doing the right thing. So I hope that with the boldness that he's speaking with, like others have done in the past, that this time they actually do something. If I see Hillary Clinton get indicted, if I see Barack Obama get indicted, because he did clearly commit crimes. He knowingly and intentionally had access to certain things that he knew was false, and he pushed it anyway. Those are crimes. Then I would go back to that video and I say, I trust that guy. I believe that guy. Next time he says something, I'm going to believe they're going to do what they said they're going to do. So like I said, I don't want my audience or people that listen to me to get all hyped up. I could do it. I could get everybody worked up. I could tell everybody this time is right. Everybody going to jail. Everybody get hyped. I could sell a t-shirt that say this time is real. And I can make a lot of money on a t-shirt and get everybody. But that's not, I don't want to put people in that position because I've done it before unknowing that they weren't going to do what they said they were going to do. Remember the smoking gun during the election, and 2020 is for sure going to Trump because we have all the evidence. And brother, what are we left with? Raise the money for real, investigation into the election. And like, where did that money go? Build the wall. Where did that money go? So I've been tricked enough in good faith that I'm saying, well, wait a minute. I've seen this story before. Let's see you do some stuff on the paper. Like the Bible say, faith without works is dead. You can claim you got everything. You can claim you're going to do something. You can say it all you want. But if you don't put anything into action, then what you said don't really matter. Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I'm trying to temper my optimism with reality of like, okay, if this were on the other foot, I would have 100% confidence that the Democrats were going to get this done because they've got terrible ideas, but really great execution. And Republicans have really great ideas and terrible execution. Like, I don't know why they don't learn from each other, but if this was the Democrats, they would be getting this thing done. They would cancel recess. They would go after Trump with vengeance. Like, this thing would be a done deal by the end of August. But Republicans are like, let's have a meeting about a meeting about a meeting, and then call for an investigation. Like, I want to see some action. Yeah, and this is, the reason why you feel that way is because evidence has proven they impeached Trump twice for nothing. I mean, blatantly nothing. I mean, the Ukraine thing, Zelensky said there was nothing wrong with the call. They still impeached him over that phone call. And you got evidence of Hillary and them doing stuff way worse than that. I mean, you got Joe Biden literally on camera admitting to a quid pro quo with Ukraine. And nothing happens, but they impeached Trump twice. And then they indicted Trump. They tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. I think if he didn't win the election, he would have went to prison. They tried to get him civilly to bankrupt him. They all these prosecutors, Letitia James and all them, they came in the office saying, I'm going to put him in prison. And what did they do? They filed charges against him. They made up laws. They were passed the threshold of a law, and they finagled it into being a felony, so then they can add a couple years to it so they can then prosecute him for it. They like created situations to put him in prison that didn't exist. And what do you have now? We have them red-handed. We have way more evidence that they actually did real crimes against the country. And if we don't prosecute them now, and we don't do anything with us running our mouths, this is going to hurt us in the election, because the left is going to frame it as, look, it's propaganda, it's BS. Because I think it hurt them in the election that they didn't get Donald Trump in prison, because there's a lot of people that said, look, you're going to prison, look at all that talk, and then he don't even get community service for 34 felony counts. They didn't even make him do community service or nothing. So then people start saying, oh, wait a minute, was it all a lie? Did you make this up? And so when it comes to us, we doing all this big talking. And if Hillary don't go to jail, Obama don't go to jail, what are they gonna say? Oh, they just made it up. It was political theater, and they just did this to win elections, and it's gonna turn people off. So if you said it, you better do it.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. I don't know if you've followed this story or not, but those tragic murders of the college students in Idaho.
Yeah.
Like, President Trump was going to go to jail for longer than the guy that murdered 4 college students. Like, I mean, like over 700 years. I mean, these guys were not holding back. I mean, they were really going for the jugular. Let me switch gears with you. So Kamala Harris announced that after being prayerful about it, she's just decided not to run for governor of California. Gavin Newsom thanked her, but also complimented her. But now she's finishing up this book about the shortest, most pathetic run for president, hoping that will sell. But really, people believe she's positioning herself to run in 2028. Did California dodge a bullet, and will America dodge another bullet if she does run in 2028?
Oh, yeah, she's a dud. She's a bullet with no gunpowder in it. I mean, I don't know what she's thinking. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know who she's praying to, because she didn't pray to God about this. She was praying to the devil. I don't think she's a Christian or a believer whatsoever based on her actions. But anyway, let me get to the point at hand, is that I do think California dodged a bullet because she's terrible. She was a terrible vice president. She can't even articulate herself clearly. There's no way that she's functional enough to run an entire state like California. And it's no way she's going to ever run for president and win again. It's no way. She was terrible. She was terrible. It's not that people like to blame it on that it was a last minute shoe in, or they put her in the last minute. No, that wasn't a thing. She was the vice president for 4 years. She was in a position to take the mantle if Joe Biden stepped down, but she sucked. They didn't go on Joe Rogan. She did like okay she did okay in the debate because Trump screwed the pooch in the debate, and the only reason that she didn't really kill it because everybody could see that it was all scripted. You know, she don't talk like that in an interview. So how does she do so well in the debate? We think they gave her pre-questions and all this other stuff to happen. So at the end of the day, I don't think that she's qualified to do it. I don't think that the momentum is there. I'm gonna be honest with the audience. Like, I don't think that a woman will be president unless she's spectacular. A woman has to be a lot better than a man to be the president of the United States of America, because a woman has to overcome the obstacle of the presentation or perception that women cannot lead like men. When you think about the commander in chief, the head of the military, a lot of people, their minds go straight to men. A lot of Christians understand that a man is the head of the household. So for a woman to overcome that ideology, she has to be outrageously qualified. She has to be a bad A, if you know what I'm saying. Meaning she has to be firm. She has to be blameless. She has to present herself to make people believe that she can actually be a leader of the biggest country on earth, or the best country on earth. But I can also say this. She also has to be able to overcome the obstacles of dealing with people in the Middle East who have zero respect for women. So if there's a woman that could emerge and present herself to do all that, maybe there'd be a chance for a woman to exist. But the women who have run in the past cannot tie the shoelaces of a person like Donald Trump. They're not going to go to Qatar and negotiate with people. They're not going to go to the Middle East and say they don't respect women. She have to cover up before she go over there, think she's going to talk to another man or shake his hand and do all this stuff. So I think it'll be an uphill battle. And she's definitely not the person for the job.
Yeah. Roger Stone said on my channel that he thinks Tulsi Gabbard is the best shot at the first female president. She's kind of a badass, so we'll see. I don't know. That was his prediction, not mine.
She is, but I don't think so. I think you got to be a lot more polished than that. I mean, you got to be a lot more grassroots, because you got to think she was a Democrat, and she's come over to the Republican side more recently. I mean, and I don't think people really necessarily trust that she is extreme to the right as we want her to be, so I think that there's a few obstacles that she may have to face there. And I think she's bad to the bone, but I don't think she's bad enough to be the president over a field of qualified men who have already led in these areas as governor and other positions. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to voting for a woman. I'm just saying that I just think that, in my personal opinion, I don't think that she's going to be a good candidate. I mean, she can run, but I don't think she'll make it to the finish line.
Okay, interesting. Final thing, I appreciate you coming on. I've noticed something that the Democrats are doing, and I don't know why they can't see it for what it is, but Donald Trump just keeps racking up win after win after win. He keeps rising in the polls. People believe the country's heading in the right direction for the first time in decades, and their only message is, we're not him. Like, we know you're not him. That's why you're losing. That's why you have the lowest approval rating. That's why you keep leaning into DEI and LGBTQ2SA and transing children and sexualizing children and defending illegal immigrants and criminals and pedophiles. Like, we get that you're not him, but really your messaging is the guy that's winning. Your only message is, at least we're not him. I don't know what, like, as that came to me, I was like, they're so stupid.
When a narcissistic person is backed into a corner, what do? They got to double down. They're not going to change who they are. They're not going to present themselves in a better way because they're self-centered and they think it's all about them. They're not looking externally. And the Democrats, what they did is they started this back when Trump ran in 2016. They started this opposition of Trump. And I think he won in 2020. So they have this opposition of Donald Trump. They have never, like, they gambled and put all of their dice money in one area, and that was to oppose everything that Trump does, expecting, I guess, for him to fail. But when he wins and you oppose the winning, you're screwed, and then you can't go back on it because Donald Trump is not going far right. He's right in the middle, where he's getting people on the kind of the middle left and the middle right. Because he's saying things that every American can get with, right? Money, interest rates, trade deals. All these small businesses deal overseas, bringing it back to America or giving them better trade deals when they can work across the country to get products and stuff like that. And I'm not saying most small business, but I'm saying the bigger small businesses. Stuff like that. Trump is speaking the language of the average American person, and they are diverting against what he's doing with that. They have no base. And you can only go so far with social justice and weaponized empathy. After a while, people get fatigued with that. They're like, okay, I get it. He's Hitler. But like, he's doing this. He's Hitler. So what is the solution? It's nothing. Oh, you have no solution? Oh, you have no stance on this? Oh, you don't have a solution for kids getting mutilated? Why did they ban it in other countries? You guys didn't care nothing about nutrition when you were in office, and now you're mad at RFK. Like, what are you guys talking about? What are you standing on? We're standing on America, and y'all supporting illegal aliens. So I think that when you back yourself in the corner, there's no way out but to you know how they say, if you can't beat them, join them. The only thing they can do now is join the Republican message, because they don't have a message. Like, you think about who's running for office. What are they going to run on? They can't run on raising taxes on the middle class. They can't run on letting illegals get back into the country. They can't run on anything substantial unless they capitulate in part to what Republicans are already doing. They can't run on trade deals. We're already doing it. They can't run on lowering inflation. We're already doing it. They can't run on bringing $1 billion deals back to the United States of America to benefit American workers. We're already doing it. You know what I'm saying? Law and order. We're already doing it. What else do they want to say? Pride in America, patriotism. We're already doing it. They would have to essentially become Republicans. And some Democrat is going to be smart enough to become a Republican. I'm telling you. It's going to be, I don't want to belabor the point, but no one is going to be J.D. Vance running for office. Nobody. This next time. No one's going to be J.D. Vance. Because J.D. Vance is associated with the victories of Donald Trump. And J.D. Vance is a man amongst boys when it comes to this political stuff. And when I saw him in the Oval Office pretty much chastise Zelensky in front of the world, he pretty much said, Trump, hold on. You won't come to this country and disrespect us. To see the vice president have a stance like that, to see him be very clear in his messaging, J.D. Vance is nobody's going to beat him. And no Democrat is going to be able to outperform him, out debate him. Nobody, even snake oil salesman Gavin Newsom, he's not going to be able to fight against a J.D. Vance. He a man versus man. I mean, he just looked leaps and bounds above him. So I think that the Democrats eventually, after J.D. Vance reign, because I think he should do 2 terms. After he do it, then I think a Democrat is going to try to meet in the middle without the extremism. And we also saw that with Joe Biden. He didn't run as the progressive Democrat that we see today, or even how he was in office. He was a moderate. The leftists is not going to win. They don't have a moderate. And so therefore they don't have a chance to win. I'm sorry for making that point longer than it should be, but that's pretty much my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, that answers my question. Who you think will run in 2028?
J.D. Vance all the way, man.
No, he's great. I narrowed.
What do you think? Because I feel like you're not as convinced about J.D. Vance.
Oh, no. I totally am. Yeah, no, I thought it would come down to Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy, and JD. And then as I researched them, I told everybody on my audience, I think he's going to pick JD Vance. And then he did. So I think he's great. I would love for us to get 12 years in a row of guiding this country back to the center, back to God, back to family, back to America. I would love that. I think we could go further, but statistically, it doesn't usually happen that way. But yeah, JD Vance, he is a beast.
I think the anomaly here, man, is that Donald Trump didn't serve 2 consecutive terms. This is the only reason why I think we can get 2 terms out of a JD Vance, because typically Trump should have served 2 terms. It would have been a Democrat, and then a Republican could have done 2 terms after that Democrat. But what they did was let me say this real quick. I don't think people understand how conservative and Republican the country really is. I think people somehow think it's still a 50-50 toss-up. Donald Trump, if he could run consecutively for 3 years, he would have won 3 years in a row. He's got more support from in 2016 to 2020, more support, and in 2025, more support. Donald Trump has just been getting more and more popular. And I think people aren't realizing that because we had that break with Joe Biden in office. But Donald Trump was more popular than he was before, and then he's more popular now. And so the country is trending like this, whether people believe it or not. This Biden administration was a farce. The country is doing like this. By the time Trump is finished, they're going to be in love with J.D. Vance's message. And so he's going to get in. And this is the first time in 20 years or so we won a popular vote. Once we get all the illegals out of this country, now let me tell you this, Stephen, please, 30 seconds. If Republicans can get this right, we probably would serve 8 terms. The illegal immigration issue, if we can find a pathway to citizenship for good people who are here illegally, and I'm saying illegally, literally, and illegally because of circumstances of overstaying visas and stuff like that. If we can find a pathway to citizenship for good people who are working and contributing, and this pathway don't have to be overnight. It could be some type of form of saying you're contributing, you're paying taxes, you are net positive to the country, you have to pay restitution, you have to be crime-free or whatever the stipulation for 5 years, and we'll give you an opportunity to reapply for a citizenship path or something. Because like right here, my friend in Phoenix, She's a business owner on 2 locations of sushi restaurant. Really good, great society. She no crimes committed. She paid taxes. She's a great member of society. Like nobody really knew. I didn't know she was illegal. But then a Democrat, Ruben Gallego, is saying, I'm going to fight for her in this process. A Republican should have done that. A Republican should have said, I'm going to look into this. Let me support her in this process. She's the type of person that we want in our country, because we know we can't deport every person. Let's get the criminals out. Let's get the people who came here illegally out, meaning that they came without a process, and all the other people, let's figure out something we can do with them. And if Republicans can do this in the next 4 years, have something, all of those votes that the Democrat tried to create will come to the Republican Party instead of their party. If we do nothing and they find a way to give pathway to citizenship for millions of people who are illegally in this country, they're going to not only get citizenship, they're going to be granted more electoral college votes, they're going to be granted more House seats, and they're going to have millions of more people that's going to vote for them. And that's going to be the only way Republicans don't continue to run forever, in my opinion. And I hope that we are smart enough to just take a step back. Okay, the base may be a little mad, but we need to do something to secure the votes of the people who will never leave this country. They're never going to leave. They've been here for I don't know how long, and it's millions of people. And then they have to go through a court process, right? They can't. You can't just deport some of these people that haven't committed any crimes. You got to go through a legal process of them going to court and then this and then the court hearing. That's way more money it's going to cost America than to let them stay here and contribute and give them a way to be permanently in America.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I appreciate you sharing that. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. You've been wildly successful. I look up to you on that. If people want to follow you, where can I point them towards?
If you just put the Officer Tatum in any platform that you own, you're going to find me. Sometimes they rip my videos off. So even if I ain't on there, somebody got my videos on there. But you put Officer Tatum out there. And also my Substack is a new thing that I just started doing, was writing about some of these issues. It's more of a nuanced, detailed perspective of some of the things that I already make. So the Officer Tatum on Substack as well. You can find me there.
Well, you're doing so well. You're over 3 million and you're doing so well. They're stealing your content. So congrats to you. I'm going to put those direct links down below. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
God bless you. Thanks for having me.